But this is a system that I use for life planning. So you've got a life planning task here, and then under here, basically what I do is I write down what the large goals are. Now I have a problem with goal setting. All the gurus tell you to set a large goal. Usually they tell you to assign a number to it as well. The SMART goals they call it. It's make it tangible, make it measurable, make it actionable. That's great, but the problem with that is most people have unrealistic goals that they set. I want to make 10K a month in 10 weeks. It's just not possible. Big changes like that take a lot of time. It's not going to happen in 10 weeks. And then when they fail that goal, what happens is they feel shit because they've set this big goal and then not met it. The reason why they don't meet it is because they don't take that big goal and break it down into something that you can actually act on in a tangible way every day. So really what I encourage people to do is set directions for their life. So you're setting a direction, you're working on it every day, and you enjoy the process a lot more that way. So just as an example of that, I go through my life, each part of sort of different aspects of my life. So health, personal, relationships, business, financial, travel. And I sort of write down these goals and then basically try and break it down into stuff that I can do every day that's going to help me achieve that goal. So for example, health, I want to be fitter in my 40s than I am in my 30s. And the way that I do that is by breaking that down into daily habits. Now, fitness is an easy one as an example. It's a good example to use because it's very tangible. Habit, I do a mini stretch. I do 1K of rowing every day. It takes me about 5 minutes. And when I track that on, I've got a set of scales with an app and I can see the difference, decreasing over time, month on month. Same, I do jogging every day, 2 5-minute jogs. These are not huge changes. These are not things that I have to do my whole schedule. I don't even have to really make time for them. It's only add it up. It's about 20 minutes a day. Anyone can find 20 minutes a day usually if you're serious about it. But I do them every day. And what I do is I track them with a habit tracker on my phone, and it makes it super easy to keep track of making sure you do those habits that you do every day. Personal, I want more free time in my life, so it's a kind of vague goal. How do I turn that into daily actions? Well, it's a weekly action. I take a Friday off every week for self and big picture thinking, and you'll see I've made a list of stuff that I want to do on a Friday for myself just to do something different. What else have we got? Business, I want to build authority as a solopreneur. I set this goal last year. So the habits that I've established to do that, I write a weekly newsletter. I've done that every week now for 12 weeks. I post daily on LinkedIn now. I repurpose 7 posts in my newsletter to do that. And habit, I do 1 monthly podcast appearance. So it's just repeatable habits. I do these weekly, I do these daily, I do these monthly. And that leads me towards my goal of building authority as a solopreneur. Build my network. LinkedIn, 15 minutes of engagement every day using my engagement system. So you'll see, I won't run through them all, but you can see how I'm breaking these large goals that benefit my life and my business into daily habits. Now, setting the daily habits is fine. You know what you need to do, but how do we actually do them? How do we hold ourselves consistent and do these daily actions every day for, a year, 2 years, whatever it takes to achieve that goal? These goals are long-term goals, and we need to be thinking in long terms. So what I do after that is I take these daily actions and I work them into my schedule. So I will show you what that looks like.
Kind of struggling with my website right now. Use way too many hours on how to make the website look good on every device possible. So, and that takes very many hours.
You've kind of struggling for lack of time and just generally getting things done. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess.
Then what I can also do is share an exercise with you just in terms of helping you to kind of get more done in a limited time because throughout our coaching, what we've seen is time is your bottleneck. Good ideas, you know how to implement them, but time is your smallest or most finite resource. You just don't have a lot of spare time. First of all, if you don't set a time limit on tasks, there's a law called Parkinson's law that means that tasks will expand to fill the time you give them. So if you give yourself unlimited time to do your website, you will be working on your website forever. And this is a mistake that I made as well. On my own website, I spent literally months of, hours a day tweaking the most tiny things, from visuals, copy. I wrote a page for every single service that I do, including all the way down to copywriting, email marketing, everything like Google Ads. And what I found was is that after I launched my website, and I looked at the analytics, people only ever visited 3 pages on my website. So,
Mm,
I had spent, oh, I couldn't even tell you, dozens and dozens of hours writing copy for all of these
mm,
pages that no one ever visited. And it was just a waste of time. And the reason I did that was because I felt like I had to. And actually, what I had, if I had said, right, Nick, you're only going to have 6 hours to do this site, what would have happened is that I would have concentrated on only the most important things, and the other stuff, which, maybe once in a year someone might visit one of the other pages, but they're so unimportant that I might as well have just not spent the time. So what you've really got to do is set yourself a time limit and a restraint. And this, remember when we did the schedule exercise? That's really what
mm,
that's about, is you set time blocks and say, right, I've got 6 hours to do this site. How am I going to spend those 6 hours or whatever? I'm just making up 6 hours, but whatever time it is, always make it less than you think you need. And what you'll find is that you magically get more done. And not only that, when you get to the end of that time block, you are going to feel like you haven't had enough time. That's natural. You're going to feel like it's not quite done, it's not quite perfect. And again, that is perfectly okay to feel that way. But the point is to get it out there, and you can always come back later and tweak it. But what you find is once you step away for, a week or 2 weeks and you come back, a lot of the stuff that you've been spending all this time on are not going to seem important. So,
mm.
and you'll save yourself a lot of time this way.
I'm a completionist, so I want to have everything complete by the same second I started.
Yeah. And I work the same way and I feel the same way. I'm a completionist and a perfectionist, and
Yeah.
I feel like I've got to do every page before I can launch it. When in reality, what you need is a one high conversion landing page, and then you probably need
Mm,
a page for one of your services and a few portfolios, and really that's it. And Japanese have a work theory called just in time, which is basically
mm,
the theory of it is don't do stuff until you have to do it. So, for example, instead of trying, this is again another mistake that I made, instead of doing a case study for every project you've ever done, do a case study for the most recent project you've had or the most common project you get. So, for example, if someone comes to you asking for, a brand for a real estate company, you could do a case study on that project. And then the next time someone comes along with a real estate project, you've got a case study or a branding project, whatever it is. But the point is, don't do the case study until you get a customer coming with that project. And then it means
mm,
that you're not doing loads of case studies that you aren't going to use. You're only really doing the case studies that you need at the time you need them, and you just pull it together. As a loom, for example, is the quickest way to do it, rather than
mm.
spending ages doing case studies. And I'm glad that the technique I showed you with the breaking down a task and the breaking down the goals. It's a powerful tool because it gets out your head and you're not so stressed about it. But there's an addition, the next level of that, which I can share with you as well. Just
Okay.
now. So yeah, it's just kind of an extension of that technique.
That I have implemented your work process. Like I've taken the big task and then I split it to smaller tasks, which I think it's brilliant. It has helped me a lot with my work.
You've taken your big task, you've broken it into subtasks. What I also like to do is I keep a running list of everything that I have to do. I call it lineup basically, and it's basically just stuff that I work on day to day. Now, this is a very messy list, and what you'll find is, right, see if I go through my list just now, this is huge. Look at the length of this list, right? Some
Mm,
people would look at this and think, right, this is a recipe for overwhelm and burnout, right? So
mm,
actually what this is, it's a dumping ground for everything that's in my brain. So as you work on your website, using your website as an example, you're going to find other tasks that come up. You're going to go, oh, I need to write a case study for that page. Oh, I need to write, rewrite my offer for the homepage and website. There'll be all these other spin-off tasks that come up as you're doing
mm,
one task. One task leads to many tasks. That's just how tasks work. So how do we deal with that? Basically, I dump them into my list. And what I do is I have a line on my list. I don't actually even do it as a line anymore because I do it in my head. But imagine in your to-do list, you have an imaginary line. I don't actually put in a line on your list.
mm,
If I try to get through all of this stuff that's on my list, I'm just going to burn out and get stressed out because I don't have enough time to do it. So what I do is basically I have a line, and anything below that line, I accept I'm not getting done. Basically, I just
mm,
accept it's not enough time to do it. And really, what I do is every day and every week, I sort of triage this list. I haven't done this in a while. I actually need to do it myself. But I basically delete stuff that has been on there for so long. I'm not going to do it. So if I go through this, there'll be stuff on here that I'm going to look at and go, do you know what? I'm not going to do that. For example, here, right, update brand values on my website. That's been on my
Mm,
list for nearly a year. So I'm gonna let it go and say I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to delete it. Right.
okay.
So I do this on at different periods, but basically what I say is every day I say, right, okay, what on the list can I do today? And I move the line about to say, right, okay, today it's realistic that I can get those things done and everything else can wait for later. And what you
Mm,
just have to, it's kind of a mental mind shift to just say, I'm letting myself off the hook for doing this stuff because I'm not going to have time to do it. Today,
mm,
I'm only going to do what I can do in my 2 hours. And today that might be, today I'm gonna record a system on whatever it is for Life by Design. I'm gonna write a blog article or whatever it is. And it's a good way of doing a to-do list. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Some people recommend having, your top three priorities. Some people recommend having urgent, sorting it by urgency and priority. But I just find all of those are too complicated, and you're constantly going to be adapting this. So I find just having a dumping ground, I just dump them all in, and I basically shift about stuff about, and I move it above the line when I want to deal with it. And everything
mm.
below the line, it's just a place to get it out of my head onto a list and accept that I've got to do it, but probably not today or this week. And I just every now and again I'll go back to it and remove stuff about or delete stuff or move it up. And you would be
Mm.
amazed at how much stuff that you think you have to do right now that when you put it on this list and then you come back 4 weeks later and it's still not done and nothing bad's happened, you're like, well, do I actually even need to do that? And it doesn't seem so important anymore, and you just delete it. So it's almost like a way of saying no to yourself, because over time you've just saved so much time of having to do all these tasks that you weren't going to do. So
I then, yeah, I need to make a to-do dump list.
yeah, it will really help your levels of burnout and your overwhelm. If you're anything like me, the moment I have more than a couple of things in my head, it really stresses me out, and I feel the pressure to finish all these tasks. So dumping it just it relieves that pressure of having to hold on to the task, and
Yeah.
allows you to let go of it to focus on what's important.